Books have been around for a few thousand years, making them one of the most known and utilized media texts in history. So it's not surprising that a couple of these books have struck a nerve with certain people and been deemed controversial. For that reason, I decided to compile a list of just that. So sit down, grab an apple-shaped lemon, and join me as I count down the 10 most controversial books in history. Number 10, The Anarchist Cookbook. This book was written by William Powell in 1974 in order to protest against the United States' involvement in the Vietnam War. The book contains instructions and explains how to manufacture explosives, among other things. It also features instructions for home manufacturing of illicit drugs, including LSD. The book was received to a mass amount of criticism, and the FBI even got involved. They came to the conclusion that not only was the information dangerous and classified, but the instructions were actually incorrectly executed, meaning if a reader attempted to manufacture an item described using Powell's methods, they were likely to fail and possibly hurt themselves. Since the release of the book, Powell has apologized and tried vigorously to get the book out of circulation, but failed due to the fact that the publisher owned the rights to it. Number 9 is The Chocolate War. Written by Robert Comier in 1974, this book's target demographic was teenagers and young adults. However, the subject matter was deemed inappropriate as the story featured a group of teenagers rebelling against social norms and the education system. It also featured a controversial masturbation scene and countless swear words. And by countless, I mean like 200. I just looked it up. It's 200, whatever. Regardless of the controversy it garnered, the book was praised for being innovative and won a handful of awards. It also got a cheeky film adaptation, and a sequel was published in 1985. It still remains banned in some schools and remains one of the most challenged books ever written. Number 8, Brave New World. This book was written by Aldous Huxley in 1931 and published a year after. If it was written today, it would be hard to deem it as controversial. However, when you consider the year it was released, it's easy to see why it got under some people's skin. The book is set in the future and details the characteristics the world now possesses. The main trait of this futuristic world is that natural reproduction has been abolished and the core of the population are now artificial clones, with the exception of savages who are left to their own devices. This sparked a nerve in certain areas, mainly because it goes against the Bible, which condones natural reproduction. So Ireland and eventually India banned it from hitting the shelves straight away. Also, a number of teachers lost their jobs because they assigned the book to students. It wasn't until recently that the book began to receive praise as a piece of writing instead of just a controversial book. Number 7, American Psycho, a novel by Bret Easton Ellis, published in 1991. American Psycho details the perspective of a serial killer in first person. So as you can assume, this bad boy was a pretty disturbing read. The controversy began after its release and many stores sold it shrink wrapped and gave it a rating of 18+. Probably the most controversial moment that spawned from this novel, however, was in Canada, when serial killer Paul Bernardo admitted to reading the novel as his Bible. The book overall was met with praise and had a successful film adaptation created starring my main man, Christian Bale. Number 6, The God Delusion. Published in 2006, Richard Dawkins' non-fiction book entertains the concept that God does not exist and anyone who believes in a superior being is suffering from a delusion and refuses to listen to reason. The book was hugely successful, selling 2 million copies, and of course, garnered widespread notoriety. And not the usual kind. People weren't just like making remarks as it came into conversation. I'm talking dudes were writing full-on books in order to get their point across. Alistair McGrath wrote 2 books, Dawkins' God and The Dawkins Delusion. That last name is just cheeky, Alistair. Number 5 is 1984, a dystopian novel by English author George Orwell. Similar to Brave New World, 1984 is set in the future and details the traits of that world. A global war has occurred, leaving the planet in a corrupt state, and it is now run by 4 ministers with ridiculous names, and 85% of the globe is deemed to be lower class. There are now 3 superstates with 10 dictators that rule over the world, each possessing their own harmful ideologies. Censorship, surveillance, and senseless killing are all characteristics in the future and commonly practiced. Although it is widely regarded as an extremely well-written novel, it has been deemed one of the most frightening and depressing books ever written. Number 4, The Communist Manifesto. The first edition of this piece was actually a pamphlet, however in the last 150 years it's been converted many times into a book. It features the ideas of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, which of course supported the concept of communism. They wanted everyone to get the same everything, regardless of what job they had. This piece was controversial because of the people it inspired, namely Vladimir Lenin, who led Russia strictly under Marx and Engels' beliefs. Number 3, Lolita, a novel written by Vladimir Nabokov. Lolita features extremely controversial subject matter. Our main character is a professor called Humbert, And no, I did not just say his first name twice, that's genuinely his name. Anyways, Double H moves into a new house and gains an obsession with a 12-year-old. He then acts on said obsession by marrying Lolita's mother so that he can get closer to her. And after he becomes her stepfather, becomes sexually involved with her. Okay then! Despite the controversial tone, Lolita achieved classic status and had 2 successful film adaptations. Number 2 is The Holy Blood and the Holy Grail, a book published in 1982 and written by a trio of English writers, Michael Bagent, Richard Lee, and Henry Lincoln. The controversial tone spawned from the concept of the book, which was that Jesus Christ married Mary Magdalene and had 1 or more children with her. The book featured some factual evidence to support their claims, making it more historically realistic. This was considered blasphemous in countries that were majority Catholic and was banned in the Philippines for that exact reason. The theme of the book inspired writers to create novels with the same concept, the most popular being Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code. And number 1, If I Did It, The Confessions of the Killer. Okay, here we go. So here's a scenario for you guys. O.J. Simpson gets acquitted of the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman. So after a massive trial, he gets off and most people are still left wondering how because all the evidence suggests otherwise. So Simpson's out and all he has to do is lay low and he'll be grand. Except that's not what he did ever at all in the slightest, never. He made a freaking book putting forth a hypothetical situation describing how he would kill his wife if he were to do so. Did you really do that? As you can expect, the public went crazy because of how Simpson was blatantly trying to capitalize off the deaths of 2 people. The project was cancelled a handful of times before eventually leaking online, and 400,000 copies were printed but never published. It's mind-blowing that someone would do something that stupid, and to top it off, his ghostwriter said that he knew Simpson was a murderer. Man, this is too much. This is getting heavy. I'm gonna end the video here. No. Thanks a million for watching this top 10. If you want to see new top 10s every other day, you can go ahead and click that red subscribe button down below. If you want to check out The Walking Flimbo, his channel's on the left, and if you want to check out my gaming channel, it's on the right. All our social networks are Downtown Buster Brown, and I hope you enjoyed your apple-shaped lemon, whatever the frickety flop that is. Ha ha!